Hi, I'm Brent Johnson, and today we're at St. James Episcopal Church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Joining me today is Shannon Gallier, the Director of Music here. How long have you been Director of Music?
I arrived in July of 2019.
Okay, so this organ was already being planned before you got here.
Yes, the project had started, I think, in 2017.
Okay, so this is brand new. It's a 2021 Goulding and Wood. We haven't even dedicated this organ yet.
Couple months.
So you're still getting to know it. I'm excited to get to know it a little bit too. It's all up here in the front of the church in two sides of the chancel. So tell me what's located where?
So above us here on the north side is the grate, and just behind that is the choir over here. Okay. And on the south side, you've got the pedal and the swell.
Okay. And the swell and the choir and boxes in there, yes. So they're both expressive.
Yeah, two expressive.
And then the grate is all out here. So wonderful. Well, let's start with the grate. Okay. Tell me about the principal chorus, starting right there with our diapason.
So when Goulding and Wood took the project, it was decided to reuse some of the pipes from the old Schlicker organ, the 1975 Schlicker. And that included some of the facade pipes. They had been rather oddly spaced, rather far spaced from each other, and so Goulding and Wood redesigned the facades to tighten them up. And so the principal is actually from the old Schlicker. Oh, okay. And they did a great job of revoicing it and making it a sort of warmer, rounder sound than it had been. And then on top of that, the 4-foot octave, the 15th, and of course we have a principal mixture, the 4-rank mixture there.
Okay. Well, let's hear those. Let me see.
Sure. Yeah. So here's the 8-foot principal. Yeah. And then on top of that, the 4-foot. Keep going in the principal chorus. And then with the mixture, of course, a big mixture right above us here at the console.
Yeah, I could believe that 8-foot was a Schlicker. Mm-hmm. It's got just some of that characteristic from 1975, but it's been modified a bit.
Yeah,
I can
it's been
sort of
warmed up and rounded.
So it's big and bold, but it's also got a clarity to it that sticks out really well. So that's nice, and then brightened by that.
Yeah,
those upper
one of the things we were really aiming for, in conjunction with the renovation that we did, was to sort of make it a little more comfortable to sing congregationally. And so rounding out some of these principal sounds that are new and the old ones was a big part of the goal. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have some other stops. What else have we got in this?
We've also got these sort of principal-based mutations, right? You have the 12th and the 17th. And so you can do a really lovely sort of, I don't know if it's English or what, but you know, a big, full, almost reedy sounding principal chorus. So that adds another level of color, you know, to change up your hymns.
Instead of the mixture adding those. Yeah,
right, yeah. Right. And if you really want to go to town, you know, you can have it all. And of course, using those mutations as a big principal-based cornet as well, you know, works really well, I think. Nice full sound for your Bach chorales and things like
indeed.
that. Yeah,
all right. Then what else?
Of course, we've also got the 16-foot Borden, harmonic flute, which is really beautiful, especially in the sort of soprano-alto range. Clear, a little bit breathy, but I think nice and warm.
Oh yeah, it's got a nice harmonic edge
and
to it.
A nice Borden, which works both well as sort of a foundational stop, but also makes a lovely almost flute. You've got another flute sound, right? Or and a nice sort of crystalline 4-foot open flute. The great trumpet is bold. It's very nice. It works great as a solo stop. Maybe not on Schmoogity, maybe not on Deck Thyself, My Soul, but
Yeah, it's a big trumpet, but it's not super aggressive.
Yeah, yeah.
So how does that sound with the principal chorus in the mixture?
Oh, so if you're going along and really want to be wild. Pretty
really
fiery
steps
sound.
it off.
Yeah.
All right. It doesn't overwhelm it, though. It's not getting
No, not at all. Right.
But then again, it's right over our head. Maybe it sounds different out there.
Yeah, it's different out there.
We'll have to listen to the tape when we're done. All right, so then next to the grate is the choir box, which is right next to it on the console. So let's starting with the, we have a Dulciana in there.
Yeah. So the original design that I inherited when I arrived in 2019 was for 2 manuals.
Okay.
With the goals we have with the music program here, we're building a big music program. We really wanted more flexibility with the organ, especially for choral accompanying. Goulding and Wood had done a beautiful job of designing a 2-manual organ that would have done that, but we were able to sort of work with them and come up with a design that incorporated some of the pipes from the Schlicker that were reusable, that were in good enough shape that they could reuse them in different ways.
Okay.
And so we had this Dulciana. This was actually the solitional from the Schlicker.
Yeah, that's definitely much more in the leaning towards principal sound.
Yeah.
So a Schlicker string is going to be
almost a little, dare I say, almost a little sort of like a horn.
Well, yeah.
It has
it's got that covered.
Yeah.
It's interesting for.
So that was the solitional, and then this was actually the Celeste as well from the Schlicker. And the difference in what they sounded like then and what they sound like now is really amazing.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very lovely.
Yeah.
So then we have a chimney flute.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, this is a nice sort of chiffy.
Yeah, it's got a lot of color in it for that.
Yeah, and I mean, great character, I think, and a little of this, never hurts. A little. A little more
Livens
color.
it up a little bit.
Yeah. The 4-foot flute on top of that is sort of a sweet-sounding flute. Combining those.
Yeah, pretty nice bright sound there.
Yeah.
All right. And then a 2-foot. No, we have a 4-foot Fugara first. Let's jump to that before we go to
the 4-foot Fugara was the 4-foot octave on the grate on the Schlicker. So on the choir, the Schlicker rebuilds are the Dulciana Celeste, and the Fugara.
Okay.
I believe that's all. Yeah. And this is great for accompanying. This is with the 8-foot Dulciana. The choir has turned into a really good resource for, say, accompanying Anglican chant and things like that here at St. James.
It's my guess is that has been toned down quite a bit from the original great 4-foot octave.
Yeah.
Or rescaled
Again,
even.
Jaron Kelly, who is the voicer at Goulding and Wood, did an amazing job of turning these into different things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because the fact that it pairs with essentially the old solitional, this is just that's something I wouldn't have thought of.
Right.
And that's how they used it.
Yeah.
It works really well.
Yeah, and even rounding it out more with the chimney flute. Makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's very useful. It has a lot of color there, and you have that option of that with the 4-foot flute or the 4-foot Fugara. So very nice. And then 2-foot to go on top of that.
Yeah, so you can you have a tiny little principal chorus in a way, right? You have. Nice sound.
Yeah.
I found in accompanying Anglican chant on the choir, which I usually will couple something from the swell to help bring the two sides together, because the choir is divided in half, right? I will actually use this Nazard as sort of a quasi mixture. go as far as the tierce, but
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
but it adds another level on top. Another,
Yeah, just a little more color in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so then yes, we do have a tierce, so you can make a little cornet there.
Yeah.
Or solo it however you want.
Right. So you have the great cornet, which of course is principal based and much sort of fuller sound, and then you can make a nice cornet here on the choir as well. Sometimes without the 2-foot makes a little. Or even without the tierce is a nice. Lots of ways to combine different sounds to make more colors.
Sure, yeah. And then we have a clarinet in this division.
Yeah, really successful clarinet, I think. I really love, that was one of my musts. I really wanted a clarinet. My first organ out of grad school was a 1929 E.M. Skinner.
Oh.
Yeah, 4-manual 1929 E.M. Skinner. And so it had the most beautiful, warm, romantic clarinet, and really, really wanted one. And they did a great job of this.
How does it sound out on the low end?
Oh, actually, what's interesting is that here it's this sort of, I think, warm, round sound. Down here it almost becomes like a crumhorn. Deckhand, Balbastra, things like that.
Brightens up a little bit down there.
Yeah.
Okay. We kind of skipped over it in the great, but there's a reed that's available in all the divisions, which is the festival trumpet, and that's the only part of the organ that's not up here. It's
right,
back in the back wall. Tell me about that festival trumpet.
So that was an addition after the 1975 Schlicker was installed. I really don't know the full story. I know it was a gift from a parishioner. It's very full. And best used in the tenor range.
Okay.
It gets a little strident up top.
Yeah, it's very piercing tone. It's not horribly loud, but we're on this end of the church. It might be a little disturbing to
Yeah,
somebody sitting right
I've always meant to go back and look at the live stream when I've used it to see if anybody goes, feels a little shocked. No one's ever complained.
Well, that's good sign.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, and that's available there as a solo throughout the division. So it's interesting.
Yeah, another level of flexibility.
Yeah. Okay, that's everything in the choir then. Let's go over to the swell and look at the other side of the organ.
Yeah, really filled out swell. And so starting with the principal sounds, this Geigen diapason, which is I think a beautiful warm sound. And coupled to the choir with the boxes slightly closed makes a great accompanying sound, as well as the basis of a principal chorus, right?
Well, let's go on up from there, the 4-foot principal.
Yeah, so adding the 4-foot to that.
That's a unique sound. The 4-foot is a little, actually, I'd say a little broader than the Geigen sound, which is definitely more stringy.
Yeah.
So what happens then if we add the 2-foot octave?
So,
Okay. You can broaden up the bottom though with some of your other 8-foot.
Absolutely.
Stops,
And
several.
Growing up, like I said, on a 1929 Skinner, I did have the habit of just pulling everything out, right, to make it more round and warm. And it really does make a huge difference on this organ, which is one of the things I like about it. So here's that principal chorus without, say, the gedeckt or the viol de gamba. Add those.
Gives us a little more 8-foot in there to fill it. All right, very good.
Yeah, and then the 3 and 4 rank plein jeu. And what I found interesting about this swell is deciding actually, it makes a big difference using the 2-foot octave versus the 2-foot piccolo.
Oh, really?
At least I think so. So here's that principal chorus on the swell with just the 2-foot octave on top and the mixture. I changed that to the piccolo. It actually does slightly change the sound. Back and forth. I mean,
Yeah, we get a little more of that principal brightness
Yeah,
of the octave
yeah.
as opposed to the piccolo.
right. I mean, very subtle change, right?
Subtle, but it adds a little bit there.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I'm going to go back and listen to the 8-foot gedeckt by itself.
Sure, yeah. Oh, lovely sound, I think. Let's see.
Yeah, very calm and covered sound there. Not it doesn't jump out at me, but it's a nice accompanimental color there.
Absolutely,
I feel like to
yeah,
fill in with. And then it has a traverse flute there you can bring on with it.
Yeah. Makes a nice sort of
Yeah, that gives a little more color.
Sparkly
brightness.
sound.
What does the flute, the 4-foot, sound like by itself?
yeah.
That must be nice as a solo, say, against the celeste of the choir.
Yeah,
here.
it really does. Yeah.
Ah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
All right. And then we have a pair of strings in there as well.
Yeah. So these are not reused as the
Okay.
Dulciana and Dulciana Celeste are. The Viol de Gamba, nice, clear. Celeste. A more stringy sound than on this.
yeah,
Well,
definitely.
so it's nice to both sort of contrast the strings on the swell and the choir. And be a little naughty and combine them. Yeah, it just adds more color and more, I think, sort of life to the
Of course,
organ.
all of those are expressive, so you have that
Yeah,
range to bring them
yeah.
all
So you
down.
can.
Very nice. And I see we have a complement of reeds there in the swell.
Oh yeah. So the oboe and the oboe bassoon are a unit.
Okay.
That's something that Goulding and Wood, I think, does a lot of. The oboe is beautiful. And then the oboe bassoon, the 16-foot with it, you start to create a more, that more sort of earthy, weighty sound. And then the trumpet and the clarion, the trumpet's a big trumpet. And so just as I did with the 1920 EM Skinner, you get used to closing the box before you bring that trumpet on, right? Because there's a big jump, I think. There it is without the trumpet. The trumpet. I mean, if I did that with the box open.
Well, it's such a different timbre of,
Yeah.
of reed there. Let's hear the trumpet by itself.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a big, bright sound. Though.
Yeah.
Good and full, and yeah, you can close it down if you need to.
Well, and if you're, it really does. It's very effective. Say, with this great trumpet, with the, if you're basically at full organ, right? You really get that fiery French sound.
a lot.
Yeah, I think that what I'm learning about this organ, 2 months in, is that it really is very, very flexible. And I'm loving playing services on it because during communion, after the choir has sung an anthem or a hymn, I'm always finding new combinations of colors as I'm improvising, noodling around during communion.
So then we have one more reed rank. We have the 4-foot Clarion that goes on top of the trumpet. Let me hear the Clarion by itself.
Yeah.
So it's a little smaller, a little thinner, as you'd expect.
Yeah.
And how do they sound together?
But yeah, add lots of color on top.
You get a lot of your brightness out of that swell division over there.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, most of our pedal I can see is borrowed, but we do have some, at least 2 independent ranks over there.
Yeah. So the chambers here are very small, and in fact, that side was once the rector's office, our head priest's office, back in the 19-teens, in the aughts and teens. And that was an ambulatory that people would walk out of during communion. They would walk through the rector's office, hopefully not nosing around through things, but there are ambulatories on both sides. This chamber here on the north side was added. I want to say there was a 2-manual Skinner at some point. I think it was bought in the early 40s.
Okay.
And so that would have been here until 1975. So I think this was
the organ chamber
created.
Okay.
And then I think maybe just over there on top was the previous organ chamber, which I think was a Pilcher in the 1910s.
That would have been believable. All
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a 16-foot Subas, I see.
Oh, and that's another carryover from the Schlicker, which was actually one of the most sort of a real sort of undergirding.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, take over everything.
Right.
So it combines nicely with just about any combination of sounds until you get to a certain dynamic level.
Yeah. And for that, then you've got a 16-foot principal.
Right. Yeah. And the principal, or at least part of the principal, is from the Schlicker.
Guessing some of that's in the facade from what I'm hearing, coming back and forth. Okay.
Which is one of the reasons that a lot of it was reused to keep the layout of the facade. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that goes on up to 4 foot, 8 foot and 4 foot.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But even just adding the Subas. Another level of sound going on there.
And then of course you can borrow your 16-foot from the swell or the grate if you
want
to use that sound. Right.
And the of course go-tos for accompanying the swell borrows there, the Gedex.
Okay.
And the 16 and 8 bassoon are also borrowed.
Which goes up to 4 foot in the pedal.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You got that as a solo.
So great for lighter Bach, if you're playing Bach things like that. And of course the trombone.
Now this is independent.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the 16, and here's with the 8. And the 4.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So we begin our tour of the organ, not here on the choir side, but actually across the way. We walk into the old office and through these doors, and now we're over here on the swell and the pedal side, and indeed there's our 16-foot pedal pipes right in front of us. Then the Borden is horizontal here underneath the swell box. Down here we see the electronics, relay, adjustment controls for the tremolo. There's a pedal reed back against the wall. More of the pedal principal. There's a ladder right here, and we're going to take the ladder up. And midway where you see a little level where more of the pedal is stored here. This is the treble end of all the pedal ranks. Reed, flute, and principal. And then right here is the door into the swell, so we're going to go in and look at that. Rear chest has the oboe and the stopped flute. 8-foot offsets are along the back and the sides. There's our 8 and 4 foot reeds with the mixture then in front of those. And the lowest of the 8-foot pipes have been mitered to fit under the low ceiling of the chamber here. Now we're going back out. We're going to step up to the level of the top of the pedal. You can see a sideways Schwimmer regulator here. There's several of those in this organ. There's our flute and then the pedal reed. And then we can look close and see that these are indeed old Schlicker pipes. There's the top of the 16-foot principals. And the chest that feeds the facade pipes tubed off there. So that's about all on this side. We're going to close the chamber doors, which are obviously old office doors, and go across the chancel to the choir and grate side. That door underneath goes into the sacristy, and there's a closet. Ladder at the back of the closet goes up. And we are here. There's our blower for this side. A little look underneath the choir box. There's the controls for the cymbal stern, and then the choir tremolo has similar controls over there. It's very tight in this side. Walking along sideways, we can open the door, and that lets us step into the choir where things are a little more spacious. You see the clarinet here closest to us. And then that distinctive spire flute with its conical top, and it's unplaned metal. It's very different kind of heavier metal there on that pipe. You can also tell some of these are old Schlicker pipes. The Dulciana or the string, one of the two. And again, more mitering to get everything in under the chamber height limit. You can see that the facade pipes have been tubed with PVC out through the shades there, off of their chest. As we go out, we see that we have a very narrow gap between the reed and the wall, and well, here's a look under the grate, but we have to squeeze through there. And I did it. Here I am on the other side. Wasn't pretty. And we climb up to the grate walkboard, and here we are. We see that the low end of the board in there, got a very brief look, sadly, is horizontal behind the grate, but here's our grate mixture. Stop flute in the grate, which is metal. It's wooden on the bottom. Give us a look around here. There's a ladder going down the other side. I think you can come up if you go underneath the chest, and that lets you get to the reed. There's the horizontal base of the stop flute. Down there we see more tubing for the facade pipes. The reed actually butts up against the choir box, which is going to be tricky for tuning. There's not too many pipes there, so it's not too far down. Some of it you get from the floor, but this part, that's got to be tricky.
So, Shannon, thank you so much for showing us this wonderful, brand new Goulding and wood organ here at St. James Episcopal in Baton Rouge. It's great to see something brand new and still even kind of working out some of the kinks, but getting it all ready for. Tell me about when's the dedication?
October 24th. Todd Wilson's playing it.
Todd Wilson will be coming down. Wonderful. So that's a wonderful event. So I'm sure they'll find information on the website if somebody wants to attend. We'll put a link to the church's website down in the description, as well as a link to the description and Goulding and Wood's website if you'd like to learn more about this organ. This Goulding and Wood is an APOBA builder, the Associated Pipe Organ Builders of America. They help make it possible for us to bring these videos to you. So for more information about APOBA and their member builders, go to their website, apoba.org. And remember, if you would like to become a sponsor of the Organ Media Foundation and help us make more videos and get to fun places like Baton Rouge, Louisiana, you can do that by going to organ.media and clicking on support. We depend on your support to make these videos possible. So thank you to all of you who have become sponsors. And remember, last thing, for streaming classical organ music 24 hours a day, you can visit our 3 streaming stations, organlive.com, Positively Baroque, and The Organ Experience. Shannon, thank you again very much.
My pleasure.
And I'm Brent Johnson. I'll talk to you next time.